So, you're thinking about buying an electric skateboard in South Africa? A few years ago there were not that many brands, but now there's just brands popping up all over the place. So it can be a little difficult when choosing the right brand, especially when you're paying such a high price for something so technical. There's not that many brands to choose from within South Africa, but globally there are quite a number. So within South Africa at the moment there are 3 brands that I know of. The one being Evolve Skateboards, which is probably the biggest. They are from Australia, but they have a workshop in Cape Town. The other 2, there's a brand called Charge. They're based in Stellenbosch in Cape Town. There's another one called Hillbillies Pro, who sell electric skateboards as well as Sedgeways, and they're based in Durban. They've got quite extreme off-road boards. As far as I know, Charge only offers the street wheel setup on their boards, and their boards are all hub-driven motors. But both Evolve as well as the Hillbilly skateboards, they both offer the all-terrain option or the street wheel. And as far as I know, both of them are belt-driven motors. So you have a decent choice here in South Africa, and I think all 3 brands are pretty good. They have a good variety of boards to choose from. So within South Africa, you do have those 3 options to choose from. There are a number of international brands as well. If you do a Google search, you'll come up with quite a few. There's brands like Onsra, there's one called Unknown Boards, I think it is, in the UK. In the States, there's quite a few. Sure, many of you must have known Boosted Boards, which have stopped now. There's also X-Way, there's also Meepo Boards from China. And China, there's quite a few different brands that you can choose from. So in terms of prices, the boards are quite pricey. You are going to be looking at anywhere in the region of starting of about maybe 13,000, 14,000 Rand, going up to anywhere up to even 30,000 Rand. Some of the Evolve boards, the carbon fiber boards, I think it's close to 30,000 Rand. So yeah, it just depends what you want, what specs you're looking for. The price is really dependent on a few things, but I think the most important thing is the range that you get out of the battery. So the higher the price of the board, usually the range is a lot better, as well as a few other features, but I think that's the main point. So when choosing a board and choosing a brand, there's a couple of things which you need to look out for and which you need to take into consideration. So I hope that I can just give clarity on some of those things here. So when choosing a board from overseas, there's a couple of problems, or not problems, but perhaps issues that can arise. So the first one is in terms of shipping. You're going to wait quite a few months till the board arrives here. And secondly, you probably have to pay quite a high amount of duty when it comes in. So when you're looking at that, just take that into consideration in terms of the prices. When comparing the international brands with the ones that are here in South Africa. Then a big thing is the services, or if you have a problem and something goes wrong, something breaks, something's not working, a part doesn't work. When you've shipped in a board from overseas, now it can become a bit difficult, because then you have to ship it back, you have to get in touch with their customer care, try to get it returned, which can be quite an issue in terms of time. I mean, imagine how many months it takes just to get here, then you have to ship it back and then wait for it to come back. So I think that's the biggest issue when buying from an overseas brand. So that's why it's probably best, if you can, rather to choose one of the brands that are here and have a base here within South Africa. I know Evolve, because I've got an Evolve board, I know that Evolve are really good with the customer care. I mean, if there's anything wrong, any problems, you can just take it to them, phone them up, email them, and they'll respond. Also, you can take it in for a service every year, every 6 months, however you feel, and depending on how you ride. And they'll service it for free, clean it up, check that everything is good. You just don't want the hassle. So there's two types of motors with these boards: hub motors and the belt-driven motors. You can see the Evolve boards, they have belt-driven motors. I'm not going to go into the details of which one's better, which one's not. There's plenty of videos on YouTube. The beauty of the belt-driven motors is that you can swap out the all-terrain tires for the street wheels. You can get the best of both worlds, whereas if you have the hub motors, you're kind of stuck just to the street wheels. And I would say, especially here in South Africa with the roads the way they are, I think it's definitely a good idea to start off with the all-terrain wheels. I think the main question to ask yourself when buying a board is, what are you going to use it for? Why are you buying it, you know? Essentially, if it is just for a hobby, just for some weekend fun here and there, you could look at the charge boards. They're a little less expensive than, say, the Evolve boards, but the specs on the boards are probably not as high, not as good as the Evolve boards. For example, the range, I'm sure, is probably not as good, and you don't get the all-terrain wheels. So yeah, it just depends what you want to use it for. If, say, you're using it every day to and from work, for example, or very often to use it as a commuting board, then it's probably worth the investment and probably worth it to pay a bit more. You don't want to pay less and then find yourself always monitoring your kilometers, making sure that you still have enough range on the board and the battery to go. The main thing though is to make sure to do your research. Like, there's so many reviews, so many videos on YouTube. I think before I bought my board, I think it took me almost a year to decide, and I think I watched every YouTube video that's on the boards. eSkate Reviews, they have a really good channel and they test out a lot of boards. So yeah, just watch as much as you can, speak to as many people as you can, and if you can, I know Evolve even charge. If you get in touch with them, ask them to just, if you can come over and demo, try ride a few of their boards. I'm sure they won't have a problem with that, and they encourage that because it is an expensive investment and you want to be sure of the brand that you're buying. So yeah, reach out to them and see if you can get a demo and just go for a ride on one of their boards. And I think that will really make a big difference, because once you've ridden it, once you've felt it. I got in touch with Evolve, with Rowan in Cape Town, and he let me come by and we had a test demo ride, and I'm pretty sure straight after that, that's when I just decided that. So yeah, do a test ride if you can. So is it worth it? There'll probably be a lot of people who say it's not really worth it, but I think if you really enjoy it, if you enjoy skating, if you're going to use it a lot, I think it's very, very well worth it. I initially, when I did buy it, I did question it a bit as in terms of the amount of money spent, but now I'm quite convinced I wouldn't go back. I think the two main points is, one, do a test ride if you can. Two, I would always advise buying the local brands, just because, one, it's local, and you know, you'll have that customer support and that service right within reach, as opposed to overseas brands being so far away. So I hope that gave a little bit more insight into buying a board in South Africa. If you have any questions or need any advice, feel free to email me or comment below. I'll be happy to help in any way that I can.